America, land of the free, home of the brave, target of the terror squad.
Hey, don't move! Hands up! Hands up in the air! Don't move! Don't move!
But one man is going to make this their last stop.
Call the FBI. We've got a war on our hands.
His word is law. Their sentence is death. When terror strikes home, it's time to strike back.
So I believe the word you're looking for is thank you.
That's not the word I was looking for. You mean thanking you for the 92 minutes of nail biting action I just witnessed?
forget Hoosiers, forget
Yes.
Prancer, forget
Yeah.
Let's Scare Jessica to Death.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the greatest movie to come out of Indiana, 1987's Terror Squad.
Terror Squad.
Who calls me from out of the pit?
Welcome to the return of the son of the show. I'm Paul.
I'm Marc.
And
this is the Tubi Tuesday edition.
If you watch our last Tubi episode, we talk about stuff we find on Tubi.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you read the synopsis?
Terror Squad. A local police chief negotiates with Libyan terrorists holding a high school class hostage in the city of Kokomo, Indiana.
That's right. There's more than corn in Indiana.
That's right. There's terrorists.
Terrorists.
And a nuclear power plant. And the U.S. Canadian border apparently runs through Kokomo, Indiana.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, for those little leaguers that don't know any better, I found out about this movie through a friend of ours who had taken pictures of the Blackwater nuclear power plant, and we waited with bated breath for this movie to come out. It never hit the theaters for a reason.
Yeah.
We found it on VHS. And I'll tell you what, I've only seen this movie once before this. I hated it back then.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I love it now. This movie is great.
It is. It's great in its terribleness. Interestingly enough, so it's directed by Peter Maris, who did a lot of 80s schlock.
And
30
shows.
films to his credit.
Mm-hmm.
But so he's known for, and all of these sound like that, what's the company that films movies that are similar to Top Hits?
Canon?
Yeah, Canon, like Zombie Hunters.
You mean nowadays, like
Alien, I say Alien Species.
Yes.
Diplomatic Immunity. So he didn't really do too much. So he's the director.
Mm-hmm.
But oddly enough, the writer of the story is Marc Verheiden, who is super famous now. He did, and he's actually a good writer. So he wrote the story for this, but he also wrote The Mask. He wrote the movie Time Cop. He did the television show Time Cop. He wrote for Smallville. He wrote for the remake of Dark Shadows. And then he was on the Battlestar Galactica reboot for the whole time. He was a co-executive producer and wrote 9 of the episodes. So did Heroes, did Caprica, Falling Skies, the Constantine TV show. He helped write Daredevil. I mean, he's pretty famous.
the plot of this movie is 100% accurate for its time.
Oh yeah, Libya is the bad guy.
Yep.
You had a Gaddafi stand-in in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it was Gaddafi. I don't know. It looked like it was. I don't
Yeah,
know. It was
I think they were going for the Gaddafi
yeah, the
thing. Yeah.
Gaddafi look. So they got the Libya,
Yep.
and that would have been the villain du jour of the '80s was Gaddafi.
Right.
So that's correct.
Yep.
The the location of Kokomo is all wrong. So the terrorists come by boat
Mm-hmm.
across the Canadian American border via water.
We're not sure what kind of
Yeah.
what body of water.
No, it doesn't say. And they land at what was it, Dunes
Dunes Beach.
Which is Indiana Dunes Beach.
Yeah,
That's clear. That's and not sure that's actually where it was filmed, but the terrorists do try to do a car bombing of the nuclear power plant, which of course is our
Yes.
NIPSCO power plant in downtown Michigan City, right on the Lake Michigan, which my fiance, when she moved here from Oregon, thought it was a nuclear power
Oh,
plant when she first saw it.
I think
So it does.
everybody.
Everyone thinks it's a nuclear power
Yeah.
plant. It does look like one,
Yeah.
but it is not. It's just a steam powered coal fired generator.
Yep.
That just happens to have the towers that look like nuclear power plant. But yeah, definitely it was fun to watch them film. Clearly they didn't get permission to film on NIPSCO ground. They had to film. There's a channel that runs between NIPSCO
Yeah.
and the yacht club.
Yeah.
And that they had to film on the yacht club side.
Yeah.
So back in the day when there were gates up there and everything. So it's funny that they had to erect everything in the yacht base in Washington Park to film everything. But it was fun to see
Yeah.
see everything.
So we start watching this movie,
Yeah.
and I'm like, Mark's noticing stuff like, no, wait, it gets better. No, wait, it gets better. There's a reason I want you to watch
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, so for good old Michigan City
Yep.
being featured greatly. But then all the action, the minute the car chase starts, all the action moves to Kokomo because this is supposed to be in Kokomo.
Yeah.
And it was Kokomo. I mean,
Yeah.
there was plenty of Howard County signs.
Yeah. There were some institutions
Yeah,
like
and-
the Kokomo
Yeah.
comic shop.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was clearly definitely
Skeeters.
shot. Yeah, Skeeters, good old Skeeter. That took some bullets.
Maybe not the first time Skeeters took bullets.
No. But let's talk about our once we get going, the cast of our movie.
Sorry.
Well, yeah. So one other thing we should know first too is in addition to this terrorist plot going on,
Mm-hmm.
we have Chuck Connors as Chief Rawlings, who's the chief of police apparently, who's allowed not to wear a uniform.
Yeah.
So
yes.
chief of police who's allowed to walk around in a Brooklyn Dodgers jacket. More on that later.
I mean, he was on his lunch break though. Maybe
That's true.
Maybe it was his day off.
Yeah, that's true. Could have been his day off.
And he was just taking the
That's true.
vehicle.
And then we have Brody Greer of Chips fame as Captain Steiner, who's the head of the Kokomo SWAT team, which is good to know that Kokomo has a SWAT team.
Yeah, it's good to know.
Yeah.
I found out the hard way that LaPorte has a SWAT team.
Oh, okay, that's true. Yeah. Kavi Raz plays the head terrorist, Yasir. He was actually one of the first people cast in St. Elsewhere. He was the anesthesiologist for the first 2 years who was belittled by the doctors while he worked there.
It's the last person you want to mess with.
Right. And then also, just as a bit of trivia, because I looked him up just to confirm that he was on St. Elsewhere, but apparently he was next in running to be Data in Star Trek The Next Generation, which that would have been more interesting as Data. And Joseph Nasser as Gamal, who is his trigger-happy assistant terrorist.
Who looks like the stuntman for, was it Richard Grieco?
Yes, Richard Grieco. Yes, he did. Had the hairdo, too.
Yes.
And then we have a bunch of, I guess, nobodies. Sorry, I didn't call them nobodies, but my favorite name of all time as Mr. Nero, I believe, who was a teacher, Budge Threlkeld. That is a hell of a name. If I ever have to go on the lam, I'm changing my name to Budge Threlkeld because I'm sure he's an old man by now.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my favorite name. That came up on the screen, and I was in. I was in this movie. And then Gus, the unfortunate janitor who bites it.
Yes.
Baggy Hardiman. That's another interesting name. And then and the reason that we're talking about a janitor and a teacher is the movie switches gears to an after school detention at the Kokomo High School, where the low rent breakfast club
That's right.
is hanging. I mean, literally the breakfast club.
Yeah, the
I mean,
breakfast nook.
yes, yeah, more like the breakfast gang.
But you got to understand, there was like 45 minutes of just mayhem and chaos.
Yes, for the first for the car chase, the longest car chase ever, with lots and lots of cars that exploded once one bullet hit them. But also, interestingly enough, that apparently all the Kokomo City police carry Uzis, and there was a mortar launcher.
Yep.
One of them had a handheld mortar launcher. I guess, I mean, I thought Carmel, Indiana, was the richest city in Indiana, but apparently back in the day, Kokomo had it all.
It's good to know that if something happens in Kokomo,
Right.
the police are strapped.
Yes, they are. Because the SWAT team didn't even have to do anything in this movie because the cops had all the guns.
Yeah.
And a helicopter with a machine gun guy sitting in the side saddle on it. So,
Yep. Although everybody's car explodes in this movie when it gets hit by a bullet, except the car the terrorists.
Except for the terrorists.
That thing is a tank.
Yeah, that thing lasted the whole movie, and somehow got them to the high school, even though we don't see that part. But
yeah, they went from a barn where they dropped the one guy off to take one for the team.
Yeah.
And from a barn to like the downtown,
high school.
Kokomo High School,
Yeah.
Hoosier High School.
Yes, Hoosier High School. Not according to Wikipedia. We'll have to submit a correction to Wikipedia. They called it Kokomo High School.
Oh, Wikipedia. Do better.
I know. So we get a bunch of So we get, we have the Bender character who plays guitar and who's, he's Johnny Rebel.
Johnny. His name literally is Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny Rebel. His feet up on the desk, playing guitar with the janitor in the basement.
Whole while they're playing the guitar, you get that.
I mean, the fact that we're watching it, my son walked in, saw the high school, and he's like, "What is wrong with everyone? The way they're dressed?" We're like, "Nope, filmed in '87. It was accurate as hell for the way everyone was dressed. Looks like costumes now, but
those were outfits.
Yeah,
were not costumes.
They probably just pulled that out of their closet that day.
But you had made a comment that the girls' hair wasn't.
They weren't big enough. No, '87. It should have been giant hair. Yeah. But they had the clothes right. They had the girl, the nerdy girl in the green jumpsuit looking thing. Yep. Power suit, and then they had sort of the rebel punk girl with the pink in her hair,
a lightning bolt,
lightning bolt,
chewing gum,
chewing gum, So she was, but she gets roughed up quite a bit with her mouth, and got the nerdy guy who somehow is an expert in shop. Couldn't figure that. Like you would think the Bender character
would have been the shop
kid. Yeah. And then of course you've got the Flash Thompson mean jock who torments everybody in the school and who's clearly dumping the cheerleader to go for the nerdy girl for some weird reason.
Watching the jock. Mm-hmm. Meet his demise.
Yes.
Spoilers, by the way, for this 40-year-old movie.
Yes.
Was so satisfying because this guy was the embodiment. Yeah. I mean, the girls didn't get the hair right, but this guy was the embodiment of the jock a-hole.
Yeah, from the 80s. Yeah, the Johnny Lawrence. The Johnny Lawrence character. The blonde, tall, Aryan-looking.
Yeah.
Letterman jacket wearing asshole. Yeah. In every movie and TV show from the 80s. So they've got that down pat. But yes, watching him try to fight the terrorist and he's the worst choreographed fights I've ever seen.
Well, the thing too is like this movie also borrows like bigly from Red Dawn.
Oh yeah.
And these guys, but the kids in Red Dawn knew how to handle themselves. They were all on the sports ball teams.
Yeah,
Johnny or whatever this guy's name was obviously on the sports ball team, but he was like just a pushover. He like tackles the guy. They're wrestling around. There's a scene where the one terrorist comes up, flips over him, and almost like sits on his face.
Yeah.
It was.
There's lots of really good punch sounds. I mean,
Yeah.
they had the right in the forefront. They had the good punch sounds, but
It's like when you got mad at your brother and you two fought.
yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah,
that bad.
yeah. So it ends up being that the terrorists end up at the high school, hold the detention group hostage
Yeah.
to get their demands met, which apparently is a school bus to the airport for a jet.
Yes, the international airport.
Yes, in Kokomo.
In Kokomo.
Yes, with a jet. So that's the plot, and we get Chuck Connors in the car a lot, driving around chasing people. He must have that must have been in his contract not to have to stand too much.
Well, he was kind of like the prototype of that thing that like Bruce Willis was doing towards the end of his career, where like he would be on, he was filmed separately, and they added in a lot of stuff, like when the terrorists were yelling from the school, and he was yelling back with the bullhorn, but there were two different cuts, so it was, you couldn't really see. He probably was on set for like three days,
something like that.
And spent a lot of time driving.
He did work pretty hard. He had lots of pit stain shoot scenes, so
he was sweating,
sweating shit out. Picked the wrong day to get drunk again.
I love Chuck Connors.
I'm
just
too.
glad
I have to say that, and I said it during the movie, that for the 80s, that coif, that toupe, was perfect.
Yeah.
It looked fantastic.
It had the
color was like perfectly matched. And
well, the yellow on top was.
But that's his
from this,
from
going up, staining his hair. But it gave it that dignified look because it had like the Reed Richards thing going on here, and then
But he was blonder when he was younger, so I think the nicotine helped. The nicotine helped the color.
His color,
but I think the nicotine helped blend that tube right into his hair, and so it looked, that coif of hair looked fantastic. And so I have to give credit to Chuck Connors for looking good in his old age.
He looked good.
Yeah. So he's running around. Can't figure out why he's got a Brooklyn Dodgers jacket on. And they do, although there was a nice joke about, well, I guess this is your ball game, coach.
Yeah.
And so that maybe it was all for that line, perhaps.
Well, I think he was supposed to be like the tough as nails cop that he didn't live there, because like you had pointed out that the guy from Chips practiced,
had an Indiana accent.
He practiced that Indiana accent pretty good.
Should we put guys on the roof?
So you got Chuck Connor trying to talk like he's a tough New York guy.
Yeah.
So maybe the Brooklyn thing,
I guess, but it failed. His Brooklyn accent was terrible.
Well, it covered up most of his pants. By the way, we're not throwing any shade at Kokomo.
Oh no, not no. I'll tell you what, Kokomo had at one time, and may it rest in peace, the best Starbucks on Business 31, with the nicest Starbucks bathroom that I used for 10 or 15 years driving back and forth to work in Indianapolis. And so, unfortunately, the Kokomo, that you can find it on YouTube, that Kokomo Starbucks was destroyed by a tornado that passed through Kokomo. And so rest in peace, mighty Starbucks.
Rip. And they have Kokomo Con, which is a great comic convention.
Yes, yeah. So no, Kokomo's nice.
Yeah. Is Skeeter's still in Kokomo? Let us know down in the comments.
Yeah, let us know. Skeeter's, yeah.
We can visit historic Skeeter.
We should do a road trip. A follow-up to this night.
Oh,
we'll
man.
do a road trip to Kokomo.
Let's do
and
that.
See if we can find all the old filming locations.
Yeah, exactly.
Terror Squad on location.
I got some friends down there. I'll hit them up and see if maybe we can get a... we'll do a video.
Down there. Oh, man. But yeah, I agree with you though. 45, while we're doing all the Breakfast Club garbage at the high school, there was 45. It's only a 92-minute movie, and half the movie is a car chase.
Yeah,
and fantastic car chase. I mean, there was a lot of car companies in the credits, and so they clearly blew up. They blew up a lot of cars. Every single car blew up in this.
Well, what probably happened when the cars that they blew up, they then went and put in the junkyard for the scene with
all the junkyard chase. Yeah,
because they did a little thing. I'm betting they did a little thing that because there's no way they had the budget that this movie put out there. So like there's an exploding an exploding water tower
Yes.
and an exploding
Like factory
chimney
Yeah.
that was probably cited for destruction.
Mhm.
It really added to it, it
Yeah.
made it seem bigger than it is.
Yeah, it did. And so that worked. I mean, the fact that the terrorists had eternally loaded guns, which is an 80s thing.
Yep.
So they and the fact that they could at convenience they could bring the single rocket launcher out.
Yep. They got a single-use rocket launcher that they used over and over again.
Yes. There was one scene where one of the cop cars explodes as it's going over a bridge. That was really well shot, and then it lands in the water and blows up again. That was kind of cool. That we had a bunch of the classic, Dukes of Hazzard. Car hits the hidden ramp, flips upside down and explodes
in midair.
Yeah. But we'll talk about the best explosion for last. We'll save that. And spoilers. I think I used the term low rent about 17 times in this movie. So we had the low rent Breakfast Club cast. The teacher was a low rent Elliot Gould, looked just like a thinner Elliot Gould.
I said he looked like the dude from Holmes and Yo-Yo.
Yes, that guy. Yeah. We had the the nerd girl was a low rent Cynthia Gibb from the '80s actress. So yeah, it just we had a low rent Anthony Michael Hall as the nerd kid.
Who, by the way, all right. So Anthony Michael Hall. 2.0. He's got one of them little pocket TVs, that apparently was something that they had back in the 80s.
Yeah. I wasn't rich enough to own one.
Oh, well, apparently he was.
Yeah.
But he's in detention watching like one of these workout shows that if you're from the 80s and you know how hard it was to find certain material.
Yes.
These shows
jazzercises.
Yes.
Clearly. And they emphasized it.
Yeah, it was like they took it
one step further a bit.
1 or 3 steps further.
Yeah.
Yes, it was practically like in your face.
But they did give credit to the choreographer in the end, Dominique. I wrote that Dominique. So she was the jazzerciser coordinator. So she did a good job.
Dominique, if you're watching, hit us up. We'd love to have you on the show.
She did a great job.
Actually, there were a lot of bystanders to like the good folks of Kokomo,
which they said in Wikipedia that most of the cast was extras from Kokomo.
If any of you watching this video were there
and we're in it,
because I didn't know we were excited that it was in Michigan City.
Yeah,
we did not know it was also being filmed in Kokomo, or we would have went there and watched it.
Correct. Yes, and I mean the fact that they did a good job with when the terrorists are being chased in town, which they kept going like out of town, then in town, then out of town, which makes sense, I guess.
Right.
And I mean, and it's accurate. Ever been in Kokomo? Cornfields are 1 street away.
Yeah, you make a one wrong turn in this state, you're in a cornfield.
And so I thought the extras did great. There was the one where the guy gets shot in the phone booth. That was cool looking. His head just goes boop, little squib bursts, and he falls over. One of my favorites was the guy that is getting in his car, gets shot, and then he's like up against the window, and the window's all broken.
Yeah,
I mean, they did a good job with.
They did a couple times. They did that flip flop thing that like Peckinpah would do, or Kurosawa would do, where it's like they'd flip from the victim to the shooter, doing something, and sometimes there'd be the occasional like little bit of slow motion droop. Like they really worked hard.
They did. And then my favorite was the poor old man grocery guy.
Oh Jesus!
Gets shot. The whole crowd's around him crying. Then they all have to run scattered because here comes Chuck Connors in his cop car. He just runs and just plows over him.
Like that.
So I mean, give credit to the special effects crew. They got their money's worth with the special effects. So as cheesy as it was, but yeah, those extras. There were just extras laying dead all over, blood all over. I mean, it really
was carnage. Man.
Yeah, it was a massacre. It was a Kokomo massacre.
Like I don't know. I know that like RoboCop gets like the crown for like the most deaths from an '80s movie.
Yeah,
I don't think they counted Terror Squad.
No, I think Terror Squad upped the game. I mean, they were. It even has, even in the end of the movie, it's got the classic. You think the villain's dead, and he suddenly comes to life to like a horror movie one more time
Yes.
with glass, and they had that glass like all on his face because the kid. There's a scene where the kid's being Indiana Jones trying to crawl under all over the bus somehow,
Yeah.
And then pulls himself up the front of the bus and then busts through the windshield, and so the terrorist, when he comes back to life, looks like Pinhead with a bit of glass in his face.
So, speaking of the ending.
Yeah, wait, before we get to the ending.
Okay, we got
a couple.
You got more?
Oh, I've got more. There's so much more.
I'm so glad I made you watch this.
My favorite part of the movie is, except for the ending. The ending is the best. But in the beginning of the movie was so badly filmed. So the terrorists are in their car. This is when there were still 3 terrorists.
Yeah.
Before they abandoned the one to save them.
Yeah.
Every scene from the outside, the car had a front windshield. But when they filmed them, they clearly didn't have enough money to mount the camera inside the car.
Right.
So they had to take the windshield out, mount it on the hood. So while they're driving, the wind is clearly in the actors' faces. They're like trying to drive the wind in their face and trying to shoot the guns. Yeah. And so
but there was some shots though from the exterior on the hood where the glass had like this weird rainbow kind of like distort, like they put a piece, maybe they put a piece of plastic
there
to
cover
to
it.
give the guys a break or something. But
it was so funny in the beginning when the wind is just clearly the wind's not coming through the side windows; it is hitting them directly in the face.
See, it's almost like it's as good as Touch of Evil with Charlton Heston.
Oh yeah.
Because when they're driving around, they got the camera mounted on the hood, and they're like talking, and they're trying to avoid the fact that the wind is just beating them to death.
And I also think there were some quality kills in the movie. I mean, in the '80s, we used to count quality kills.
Yep.
I think my favorite was Die Hard 2 on the Dulles, or was it Reagan Airport, where he uses the ice pick to kill the guy. That's one of my favorite quality kills. But yeah, this one had a lot of quality kills. The poor teacher. And I was joking. He took the butt of the terrorist gun to the nose.
Yep.
And I said, "Oh, cool! The classic cartilage of the nose goes in the brain." It's exactly what happened. They killed the poor teacher.
Because the one terrorist has got his head. He's like,
yeah.
The poor actor's like,
he's dead. And the jock getting killed was great. I mean, they pistol whip the punk girl till she can't walk. I mean, they kill the poor janitor. He's coming in, happy guy, blowing a harmonica, coming to play more guitar with his buddy from the janitors from the basement, and he just gets whacked.
If he only knew that terrorists hate the sound of harmonicas. Like if it was me and he came in with a banjo, I would have shot him. But I found out this movie was on Tubi, and I'm like, but I didn't want to say what the movie was. I didn't want it to trigger any memories. I couldn't remember if you'd seen it or not.
I have never seen it,
and I'm like, for that I apologize.
Yes,
and you haven't seen it
till now. I will treasure this moment. But so the ending.
Yes.
So you said they're doing it as a delay tactic, but it felt like they actually couldn't find a school bus.
Well, you made the comment that it was after school hours, so they maybe it's the county, so they're
they're clear on the booty. Yeah, there is, so they couldn't get a school bus to save their life despite being at a school. Because and again, you're right. It was 20 till 5, and if you're in Kokomo, those school buses are doing long bus drive trips.
Well, and in the opening credit montage, there's a trailer leaving, just leaving. So they thought that. They thought that.
They must have, yeah. And of course, the buses wouldn't go back to school at the end of the day. They go to the depot.
Right.
So that's okay. All right. So criticism removed. So again, Terror Squad. On point. On point. But they pull the bus up. The terrorists kidnap the geek girl. They put her on the bus with them, the 2 of them that are left. They drive away. Of course, the Bender character, Johnny the Rebel, somehow Spider-Man is able to jump off the roof of the school onto the roof of the bus.
And them slick-ass engineer boots somehow with no traction.
And ends up able to surf on top of the bus the whole way. But it's a standard, we remember, it's a standard 80s school bus. It had the new green seats that were really tall that supposedly would save your life.
The material was all wrapped around it, the handles and everything.
Yeah, as opposed to the short little green seats that we had as kids.
You were like, You know, that's impossible to be up there like that. I said, but not for Johnny.
So the bus is going. Johnny is like, crawling under it and working his way up the bottom again, Indiana Jones homage, and climbs up, pulls himself up the front. They shoot the rocket launcher out the back of the bus and somehow don't kill everybody in the bus.
Right.
Johnny gets missed there. And then the bus is trying to get out of town.
Well, don't forget though, Johnny breaks off the side view.
Yeah. Yeah, breaks it. Yeah. One of the terrorists, by the way, did get shot by the nerd kid who was able to construct his own crossbow in shop.
They seriously need to go check that kid's house.
Yeah, he's a serial killer.
He is a serial killer.
Yeah, he is. And so they got the one wounded guy guarding the girl. They got the young guy driving. And then towards the end of the movie, they're heading out of town, and then you see a train coming, and you're like, okay, it's Dirty Larry, Crazy Mary.
Well, we had made the observation that that's accurate.
Yeah,
because there's always a train.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere down there. The whole Monon line down there.
Well, up here we get a train every 10.5 minutes.
So you might hear one rattling by any minute. So they're trying to beat the train, but last second, the giant school bus, the regular size school bus, as it's rounding the corner, has suddenly turned into a little short school bus. Tiny little school bus that doesn't even have the right markings on it. Somehow launches itself through the train, a la Cannonball Run, launches itself through the boxcars of the train and then crashes. And they don't even bother cutting back to a bus turned over, a big bus turned on its side. It's just the little school bus. The interior's all wrong. The seats are the old kind of seats. The interior's blue. I mean, they just didn't care.
The stunt was great.
Yeah.
Was, I don't know what the budget for this movie was, but for what they had, the stunt for that jump and that crash was great.
Yeah.
But I was, when Johnny was on the hood, I'm like, because I didn't remember this part.
Yeah.
But I'm like, what happened to the hood of the bus? It got real short.
Yeah.
And then when they turned that corner, we're like,
and it stayed a small, short little bus the rest of the movie. For the rest of the movie, they even did the classic, shooting the gun through the roof.
Yeah,
I mean that looked good. They, the bullets coming through the roof as Johnny's running around. But so no, they end up crashed on the side. Then the terrorist pulls you think he's dead, but he's not. Tries to get the girl, and then gets killed in the end, and then he has a grenade that he's trying to kill them all.
Yeah.
And of course Johnny and the girl escape. But and of course fall in love. Johnny's been trying to hit on her the whole movie, and she finally agrees to be walked home by him.
Yeah.
But
so she's not traumatized with the fact that she killed a man.
No.
She's in love. She realizes she's in love with Johnny.
Yeah,
after all.
The blood and the excitement. Yeah. So, but
they become one of them weird couples.
Yeah, they do. Yes.
I'm gonna have to find this thing on DVD. I swear to God.
Yeah, it's just
because one day Tubi might take it away from us.
Yeah.
I'm gonna issue y'all a challenge. Go on Tubi, watch this thing, come back and fight us down in the comments that this is not the greatest action movie to come out of Indiana.
Absolutely. Come fight us. Kokomo should have a Terror Squad celebration festival every year.
Down in Texas, I think it is, they have the Manos Hands of Fate celebration.
Mm-hmm.
Kokomo needs to have the Terror Squad.
Michigan City LaPorte tried to have everyone from Prancer come back.
Yeah. How that ended up.
Yeah.
All right, well, for Chuck Connors,
for Squibs,
for Johnny,
and
this has been the return of the son of the show,
Tubi Tuesday edition.